Hi, it's Nicole, and I've got another Simple Stories project today featuring the Front Porch Collection. I'm also using this sketch from the 2023, I think it's the winter issue of SCT magazine. I will link below where you can find these. These are free sketches that are on the magazine's website. I always make sure every issue to go through and print these out because they are really good free sketch resources. And there's always like single page, double page, 8.5 by 11 cards, all kinds of good stuff. I just print them out and I tend to keep like my free sketches in the same binder so that I know if I'm pulling from it and then sharing with you guys that I know it's free and I can show it in a video, I can link it no problem, and you guys can have access to the free sketches. So with that being said, Front Porch I think might be my favorite out of my first box from Simple Stories and being on their design team. I have always loved their, I don't know if like they would consider this a family collection, but these are the collections that I tend to gravitate towards for our family photo sessions. And I feel like every year they have one and it just always seems to kind of work out. We tend to wear a lot of the same type of colors every year because I just can't be bothered. I absolutely hate clothing shopping. It's not my forte. I can pick pattern paper all day. Don't ask me to pick like textures and colors to put on people's bodies. It's hard. So knowing that this was going to be my favorite one, I was just so excited. I think this sketch, which depicts kind of like a winter scene, as soon as I saw that, I knew it would be a good swap to do just like a die cut heavy scene. And I noticed in a lot of these like family or home theme type of collections, there's sometimes a lot of icons that maybe don't seem like they go together, or not that they don't go together. I don't want to say that. It's more like, if you've been around, you guys know I struggle with using chairs, and you guys should be proud I used a chair on this layout. Sometimes I take things too literally when it comes to embellishments, and one of my solutions for that is to do a like die cut scene like this where I can pull in a bunch of things that don't necessarily make sense when it comes to the photos, but overall conveys a like cohesive vibe of gathering together, homey, homespun, home style type of feel. So that's kind of where I was going with this. So I am going to figure out where to put all of my photos. Normally, when I'm picking photos, I wouldn't necessarily choose a bunch of photos that are as super similar as all of these, but when I work through my family photo session, I kind of have a formula for it where I will do a 2-page spread for the photos of all of us together. I'll do a layout of a couple photos of me and my husband together. I will do a spread of just my son, just my daughter, them together, and then them with each parent, that type of a thing. So I kind of have a predetermined way that I work through my family photos. So I think overall this could have looked a little bit better if I had chosen more of like a couple family photos, couple individuals, couple of just my kids together, but I really like keeping with that formula that I've already adapted. So in order to work around that and not have the photos look super, super similar, I just kind of got a little bit creative with how I cropped them, resized them. I think I swapped out a couple of the photo sizes. I think there was supposed to be a little bit more 3x4s included in here, and I brought in an extra 6x4 to fill in that space. And overall, I like it. I like keeping my photos together like that. It makes sense to me. And if you've been around here for a while, you guys know that my motto is you do you. Whatever works for your style, your workflow, your thought process, you do you. So I mapped out where my photos were going to go, and then I had taken some of the 3x4 cut aparts and I cut out probably 4. I'm only going to use 2, but I knew which ones I was gravitating towards. And then what I like to do is kind of audition them and figure out which one do I like better, which one works better. In my mind, I have like the end result is sort of something I can picture, but then each time I make a slight change to that end picture, I make different choices. Like I love that big and symbol. I chose not to use it because I wasn't using any of that super dark brown, and because the aqua plaid that I used was in the paper and on the and symbol, so it just seemed a little bit redundant. And then I was bringing in that darker brown that really up till this point I haven't used. So I went and grabbed this one that was more matching with the plaid paper and this kind of like mint linen pattern, which was my absolute favorite. I only cut strips of it. I know I'm hoarding it, but it's okay. I will more than likely end up using the rest of Front Porch to do the rest of this family photo shoot. So I got kind of the meat and potatoes down. I've got my papers, my photos are figured out, all of that stuff is down. So I'm gonna go and just do some tone-on-tone stitching on these borders. I'm very much in like I want to stitch all the things, but I know that I will burn out if I do that. So I do take breaks from stitching and I pick layouts that I feel like don't necessarily need it. In this case, I think that the stitching brings in some good texture and interest to this very small area of the layout. And it also plays into that home comfort vibe type of thing that's going on with the collection as a whole, with the photos, all of that. So I like to mark my line with a pencil, go through, poke my holes. I get asked a lot on spacing. It's like any other kind of exercise. You do it enough, you get a muscle memory for it. So I kind of know how far I like my holes spaced out. And a lot of times I will poke a bunch of holes in a bunch of different layouts and then take stuff downstairs and stitch on it in between like chores, running back and forth to go get a kid, drop a kid, laundry, stuff like that, so that I'm not just kind of sitting there doing a death march of stitching. A lot of times that's when I will listen to a book, put a TV show on in the background, that kind of thing. So I did all 4 of those thin borders. And again, I picked a tone-on-tone color. I did leave a little bit of this in here just in case you've never done hand stitching. I prefer size 24 tapestry needles for this. It's what I use for, I think it's 18 count Aida when I do like cross stitch projects. So I have tons of these needles laying around. I'm used to them. Again, muscle memory type of thing. I like to grab one strand of thread, fold it in half, and then I secure it using the loop method. So it's one less knot or one less piece of tape on the back is pretty much my concept. So I got all 4 of those sections stitched, and then now it's time to just have fun. I went through, tried to kind of cull some of the products and sort them into, for sure wasn't going to use on this layout, maybe, and then for sure would use it on this layout. With something like this, I try to plan out my title first so that I can get spacing and sizing. I'm still obsessed with these foam stickers and the title options that they provide. I will sit there and go back and forth between the 2 sheets and try to come up with all kinds of different combinations. Some of them make sense, but they look great visually. Some of them read, but the words mismatch. None of that matters to me. I love them. I think they're just so much fun. So I ended up with going just with Forever Grateful. Very basic, but big, bold, dynamic. I think it plays off of all the photos really well. So figured out spacing for that. And then I just go through, and when I'm digging through die cut packs, I tend to pile up a bunch of stuff. So like over on the left, those are pretty much like quick, no, this isn't going to work. Color, shape, size, too many words, just a no. The stuff on the right is, yes, I like it. Yes, I think it would fit this layout. And I sort of start doing almost like a little sort with the yes pile as well. Like you can see at the very top, I have some tiny pieces that I didn't want to get lost because I tend to work bigger die cuts first and then down in size. to make sure that everything has space, everything is going to fit. I'm going to make sure that I go ahead and put those 2 photos down, get them where they need to go before I start doing like a dry fit across this whole section. This is a design concept that I absolutely love. To me, it is such a fun way to use up a ton of embellishments, sneak in some of those icons and images that maybe don't make sense or aren't your favorite, because there's so many ways to layer things behind and in front of each other, overlap them, kind of have them be more in the background, or bring in foam adhesive and have them be more prominent and more of a focal point. I do always try to find like a larger piece to put in the middle if I'm doing a double page like this, because it's easier to cut that down the middle and have it read across, especially when I'm going to be putting this in a 3-ring binder. And then from there, I just start laying things out. Look at that little rocking chair. If you guys have seen some of my older Creating with Collection series, there was a home line that I absolutely loved, and towards the end of it, it was like all the chairs were left. There was chairs, lamps, and I can't think of what the other one was that I struggled to use because I was thinking of them too linearly. In this aspect, like that typewriter is huge compared to that chair. It doesn't make sense if you're thinking about it as a realistic scene. I'm thinking of it more as like you're decorating a shelf or a mantle and just going with like a feeling, a theme, and mixing and matching a bunch of different things that maybe at first look don't go together, but overall just look so fun. When I line up stuff like this, I will pull out my phone. You guys saw me take a couple of quick pictures so that I can refer back to that to go ahead and put everything back and tuck it in. That was the point where I realized that I forgot that there's a 3rd photo tucked in among all this stuff. So I'm just going to squeeze and squish and make sure that I'm getting that overall feel of the original kind of arrangement that I made, just by shifting some stuff closer together, tucking some things, and trying to kind of have the same overall placement. That poor little chair did kind of end up getting covered up, and I felt bad about it. So I am going to move some stuff over so that you can see him a little bit better. I even put the books behind the chair. So again, these things, they're all sized completely different. Those trees look super tiny. Like, in what world is a typewriter bigger than a tree? This is the world in which that's okay, and it looks so fun. And just these, I'm telling you, if you've never done one of these like scene shelf type things, I encourage you to try it. It is such a fun way to play with a bunch of different embellishments. I mixed a bunch of different pieces from die cut packs, stickers from the 12x12 sticker sheet that was in the paper pack, the 6x8 sticker sheet had a bunch of really good ones in there. And a lot of times I'm just looking at size and color, and if I like it or I don't like it. And sometimes I do challenge myself to find a way to use some of those things that I would classify as I don't like it. Those make really good layering pieces. So that's when I just intentionally make my brain a little blurry and I'm just focused on size and color. Once I've got the majority of those die cuts placed down, I did bring in a strip of that same wood grain pattern, and this is going to kind of create a finishing edge and kind of close off the 2 areas, the section with all the photos and then the section that's sort of the decor shelf, I guess is what we can call this. I'm going to go ahead and make sure to put my title on here. I do like to have things like my title. If you notice, it's touching the photos on the top right, and it's also touching a little bit of the photos on the bottom. It's touching that border. It's having it touch all of those things is a way to have these two separated areas feel more together without them actually bleeding over together. I edited my journaling so that it was probably about 2 to 2.5 inches wide, cut it into strips, and I'm going to layer it onto this tag, which I'm going to actually cover up the words on this background. But the background, that little 3x4 cut apart, I didn't mention to you guys earlier. When I picked it, I was intentionally ignoring the pre-printed design, and I was looking at the like creamy linen texture in the background, knowing that I was going to cover it. So I'm going to go through and add foam adhesive to the back of all of these. I absolutely love the 1mm thickness from Scrapbook.com. I buy it in the strips. I buy it in the squares, the tiny squares. It is my absolute favorite. I feel like it gives it just a little bit of lift without it being like super bulky, especially when I start putting multiple layouts in albums. I feel like it's not as thick as some of the older stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and add my journaling on there. And then there's a little gap at the bottom of that tag. So I went through and looked through some different things. This is when I consider the layout is like 80 to 90% done. And what I like to do is go through all of the embellishments that I've been digging through and I've been pulling things from, and I slowly start adding more. I have a couple of friends that reach out to me whenever they are playing around with scenes and they are so hesitant and they feel like they can't do it. And I always tell them, just add more. Find something smaller. Find something to tuck here and there. Find teeny tiny things. Bring in some pops of color. Just keep going past the point that you would normally feel comfortable and just stretch that muscle a tiny bit. So far, that advice has been successful. If I have given you that advice and you've used it, leave a comment down below and share that information with others. It's coming in like with the enamel dots and the adhesive brads that just kind of bring it that last 10 to 20% of it being finished off. It's filling in some of those gaps. It's bringing in more of the color and the interest. And again, you see me, I just keep going back and forth. I do kind of last minute passes through each of the different types of embellishments and just see if there's something else that I want. Above my title, I felt like I needed something up there, and my brain was kind of going in the realm of I want something long and skinny here. I pulled that one phrase. The phrase itself I think fit better, but the cream got lost. This phrase is a little less on topic, but the color matched better. I'm not a big stickler for phrases and subtitles necessarily needing to be like super on topic. So I'm looking more for shapes and colors and sizes. So we've made it to the end. There is my completed double page layout. Again, sketch, supplies, everything will be linked in the description box below. I hope that you look at this and decide to go dig through your embellishments and try something like this. And if you are new here, I'd love for you to subscribe and come back and watch some more videos, and hopefully YouTube will recommend something up your alley here. And until then, I'll catch you guys later.